Parker had picked up Norman Osborn at Feast. Norman and Peter stopped and stood still. They heard crying as Peter ran to see what was wrong, and his jaw had dropped. Thanos should have stabbed that dagger into his gut on Titan, he thought to himself. In contrast, Tony watched in horror at what he had done. Tony explained how Lizard and Doc Ock escaped, but they killed Strange, so he killed them. Norman was shocked to see Octavius dead and 2 others. Tony said that he could proceed to send Norman home now. Norman asked Peter what would happen to him now. Tony said, "You're deaf." Peter's spider sense went off and a large smile crossed Norman's face. Tony gave it another look. It was the same man in his dreams, tormenting him every day. A loud laugh came out of him. Before he rolled out of the way, Iron Man was finally broken from the killing and what he had done, manically shooting Norman. Norman told Peter to help him and that they needed to stop him.
MJ and I, we're gonna have a hell of a time.
Peter felt split from it though. Tony was his friend. An innocent person was being shot at. Peter used his webs on the repulsors and made his choice, and yelled for Tony to stop this. Tony explained that he never would go home, and that this would be his home, and that he would live with his family here. Peter said, "I need to send you home. I'm sorry." Tony said, "I'll have to kill you like I killed the rest of them." Peter felt a knot go through him. Tony had killed all of them. Dragged Doctor Strange into this, and now he was dead. Tony shot everywhere. He didn't care who was on his side anymore. All he wanted was his family. Spider-Man agreed and told Norman to take him on the right side while he goes on the left. The 2 cornered Iron Man. Tony quickly shot Norman back, who went flying on the other side of a wall. While Spider-Man fought with Tony, Spider-Man punched Iron Man, but he dodged the attack, kicking Parker backwards. "Don't make me do this, Pete." Spider-Man screamed, front flipping over Iron Man. Tony turned around before being uppercutted in the face. Stark fell to the ground, while Norman came in from the other end and helped Peter, exchanging blows with Stark, who tried to keep up, resembling the time Tony fought with the Winter Soldier in Captain America. But this time, it was different. Iron Man summoned a nano dagger, the same one he tried to kill Thanos with a short time ago. Trying to do what Steve Rogers did, Norman was using all of his might to beat up Iron Man. But Iron Man slowly counterattacked everything. Getting out of the way before he took his blade, the 2 got into a massive lockup. Peter knew this needed to end fast, and he glanced over his shoulder to see the mystical box that Doctor Strange told him to send all of them home. Because Otto was dead in this timeline, this universe, Peter doesn't figure out that sending the villains back will send them back for good and potentially kill them. Peter spun his webs to the box and tried to send them back. Before he could click the button, Norman Osborn smiled at Peter. No good deed goes unpunished, taking a pumpkin bomb and blowing up the entire downstairs of the Sanctum Sanctorum. Iron Man, Green Goblin, and Spider-Man flew backwards. Peter lost the box in the rubble, but knew it didn't get destroyed. Peter was lying flat on his back. He saw Iron Man walking away from the explosion. He closed his eyes and opened them again before Norman appeared in front of his vision. Peter groaned in pain, and the Goblin laughed. "Did you think I would help you, Peter?" And he took Peter by the neck before choking him to death. Goblin punched Peter repeatedly, spilling blood down his mouth with each hit to his face, and the boy turned blue until he stopped. Green Goblin vanished from the scene. The fire started catching everywhere around the sanctum. Peter was trapped below and he thought about it. This wasn't his Iron Man who snapped. This was an evil Stark who lost his way. Peter crawled from the burning debris, looking for the box that Strange gave him. Overlooking what had happened, Peter left the building. Green Goblin grabbed the mystical box before leaving Peter to die. He walked out of the burning building and his glider came to him. When he got on his glider, Iron Man hovered over him, asking for the Green Goblin to give it to him. Goblin laughed. He was never going to get it. Luring Iron Man to the Statue of Liberty, the two fought another again. Green Goblin's glider moved just as fast, or maybe faster than Iron Man. But that wouldn't stop Tony from getting the box and destroying it. Tony felt that if the box were to be destroyed, there would be no way of sending them home, meaning he could stay in that universe with no repercussions. Back at the Sanctum, Peter escaped before people started catching on. He used his webs to get on top of a building. Peter sat there with tears, ready to hang up the mantle of Spider-Man. Doctor Strange and those others were dead because of him. He took his mask off, throwing it off of the building before someone caught it. Two versions of Peter Parker stepped out of the shadows, introducing themselves. They explained how they were in the city and then ran into each other. They came by to the Sanctum. Maybe he would be there. Peter too asked if he needed help, where Peter replied that he ruined everything, and Strange was now dead. Peter 3 extended his hand and told him it wasn't his fault. Peter 2 and Peter 3 eventually encouraged Parker to come back, where Peter 2 handed his mask to him. Taking the mask, the three of them watched the fight over the Statue of Liberty from afar. Everyone watched as they saw Iron Man battling Green Goblin. Iron Man used a rocket from his wrist that blasted Green Goblin's glider. The glider flew out of control, smashing onto the ground. Iron Man slowly came down, telling the green elf to give up the box, and extended his hand. Green Goblin smiled before throwing a pumpkin bomb in his face. Tony shielded his face in time, but the bomb had ruined a lot of his suit. Electrical sparks started coming from it. This enraged Stark. Tony flew faster than ever, grabbing Norman by the neck and squeezing tight before blasting a hole through him. The blast sliced through Norman Osborn like butter. Norman choked, putting his hands on his neck, but it was already too late. He dropped to his knees and then his side. Green Goblin was dead. The three Spider-Men came a bit too late. Peter too saw Norman's body lying motionless. It wasn't the first time he's seen this. Peter crawled up towards the tower. He saw Tony Stark inspecting the box. "Don't do it," he said. I have to, kid. My family. I need to stay here with them." Peter too asked Stark if he loves his family, then why would he continue being evil and kill others? The dreams Stark had all along were over. He killed the man who had haunted him, but it didn't take away from the fact that he became a monster. Tony said, "I'm the superior one," and he stood there shaking. Peter 1 tried to reason with Tony, bringing up old memories of when they were friends and when he became an Avenger, striking a chord in Stark's soul. He thought about what he had done and how he failed his world's Peter, and now this one. Peter 1 asked Tony why doesn't he see his family? Why can't he give these poisonous dreams up and visit them now? "I'm a monster," Tony said. "I need to secure my fate." Peter 3 acted fast before using his webs on Tony's cybernetic arm, pulling the arm off of him. Peter 2 backflipped over Tony while Peter 1 grabbed the box from him, webbing the box up. The three Spider-Men engaged Iron Man in a 3-on-1 battle. Each Spider-Man fought to the brink of death, beating the life out of Tony. Peter 1 cried, punching Tony over and over again, blood pouring out of his hands. "I tried to live up to the mantle, and knowing what could have happened if you were alive makes me sad." Peter 1 punched Iron Man so hard, the hit echoed in the distance. Iron Man fell to the ground, trying to breathe. Peter 1 was ready to finish the job until the two Spider-Men stopped him. They told him not to do this and that he needed to be the better hero. Spider-Man stopped before Iron Man aimed his hand at the box. Peter kicked his hand and Tony missed the shot in that split second. It was over. Peter grabbed the box as the two other Spider-Men detained him. While this happened, a portal opened, and it was none other than Wong, who had left for his trip. He asked Peter what he had done, but after seeing Tony lying there defeated and the two other Spider-Men, Wong figured that it had something to do with the multiverse. The two Spider-Men webbed Stark while Wong told Peter his punishment would be for everyone to know he is still Spider-Man for the death of Doctor Strange and many more. He was going to need to live with that burden. Peter took his mask and put it on. Parker accepted that everyone was going to know and he would have to live with that. Peter 1 asked what would happen now. Wong took Iron Man and told him that he would pay for his crimes in the multiverse, putting mystical handcuffs on Stark. Wong then looked at the other two Spider-Men and thanked them for their help, but they were done here. The three Peters embraced, but Wong told them to come with him. All three walked into the portal with Wong and Stark. Tony was then brought back to the Sanctum, where his punishment was awaiting. Wong explained how Tony broke the rules. Tony was placed in a special cell like the previous ones that Ock and Lizard were in. Before something happened, strange noises came out of the Sanctum. All three Spider-Man jumped into action. Before they could be released back into their home worlds, an evil squid-like demon had been released into the city. Peter 2 nodded his head as they sprung into action. But while this happened, Tony had been in the cell the whole time, but felt as if he was being watched. A voice could be heard. Do you want to see your family again too? Ending 2. Peter 1 was ready to finish the job until the two Spider-Men stopped him. They told him not to do this and that he needed to be a better hero. Spider-Man stopped before Iron Man aimed his hand at the box, shooting at it. The blast destroyed the box that contained the spell that Doctor Strange had used, and it was unleashing into the multiverse. "What have you done?" Peter 2 said. Peter 3 asked if the world was ending, and the multiverse started ripping apart, leaking into their world. Instead of fixing things, Tony decided to become the man he once was before he was Iron Man, failing not only his world, but another innocent world because of his actions. Tony cried out he could fix things. He turned around looking everywhere before he knew it was far too late for that. The universe was ending, and in his actions he created an incursion in the multiverse that would end in madness. Villains from across reality attacked the Spider-Men. Tony escaped in the crossfire, watching from afar when the heroes were being ripped apart, and wars raged on fighting villains. The world was ending soon, and Iron Man's time was ending. A being appeared to Iron Man, calling out his name. The Watcher appeared as if he was there the whole time. Tony asked who he was, and he asked for help. The Watcher looked at Tony in disgust. "What have you done, Stark? What have you done? You have doomed yourself and your friends. But because of your actions, you have destroyed this universe and the next." The Watcher left Stark, and the sky turned purple. Beings from across the multiverse came in. Before Tony knew it, the universe had been destroyed by his own hands. That is going to be it for today's Marvel's What If. It was a lot longer than the previous two parts of what if Iron Man had been in Spider-Man Far From Home. We can see how in this timeline, Tony was trying to teach Peter that it was okay to kill, and when Stark started killing again, he felt consumed and pretty much couldn't be forgiven for his crimes after the Peter in his world was killed because of his own mistakes. I think this Tony gives a new side to the story, and I was very bold when it came to this alternate Tony and really writing this fan fiction. There's so many different ways that I could have gone with it, but I really wanted to go with the superior Iron Man route and give Tony this weird different ending where we could continue the story from here, but I don't know if I'm really going to do that. That being said, if you guys enjoyed these videos and want to stay up to date, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.